Okay. Well, you may begin.
What's your name, sir?
My name is Zion Spencer.
How old are you?
I'm 22.
You directed your attention to August 9th this year. Could you tell the court what you were doing on that day?
You said August 9th. Did you mean October 9th? I was hanging out with some friends. We had Sunday brunch. We ended up leaving from there. I leave from the house. It was my friend's house, actually. And he had just moved there. So it was my first time there, so, you know.
Is that around 2030 Grand Avenue?
Yes, yes.
You said you were at brunch earlier that day?
Yes, sir.
Where was that?
That was at, Balter Doors, yeah.
Consuming alcohol while at brunch?
I had a carafe. I split a carafe with some friends.
Of what?
Like champagne and orange juice.
So after that, you went to this apartment on Grand Avenue. What happened at the apartment?
I was there for maybe 5 to 10 minutes. After that, I realized I had gotten some alcohol before, and I left some in the car when we were going to hang out at the house. So I got my friend's keys to go to the car, but I didn't remember where he parked, and I couldn't find it at all. I looked around for maybe 10, 15 minutes. So eventually I gave up and decided I was going to go back to him, and then he would just have to help me find his car. But by the time I turned around, I realized I didn't remember where I was anymore. The area looks pretty similar. I go up.
What do you mean it was similar?
Pretty much every single building is identical, and my friend's place where I was at was 3 levels up and to the side. So I went to the same type of building, and I went up.
Is this an apartment complex that you're describing?
Yeah. So I go up, I knock on the door, just quick little tap, and I give it a twist, and it's unlocked. My friend's house I just left, that door would have been unlocked as well, so I assumed, like, okay, this is correct. I open the door and I glance in, and immediately can tell from first glance it's not my friend's place. So as I'm like receding and about to go away, I say a sorry. I didn't see anybody yet, but sorry for coming to your place. Half of my foot would have been on the threshold. So as I'm backing out, I still don't see anybody yet, and I apologize just in case somebody's in there. And Jaylen, he catches the door, and you know, that's when I go ahead and say, like, okay, I'm sorry, bro. Like, he asked me what's up, you know, I'm like, my bad. I didn't mean to show up here. I'm lost. My friend's name is Connor Smith. Do you know him by chance? And he tells me, like, no, I don't know who that is. He's not here. You can go. Being really like foreboding and aggressive, and just, so I'm just like, okay, you know, I got you. I said I was lost, and I say expletive. I said, you don't have to be about it. I said the word dick. You don't have to be a dick about it. And I'm saying this as I'm walking away. I'm assuming the door is closing already. My head's turned. I make it like 30 feet all the way to where my hand could have touched the railing on the steps. And as I'm getting there, I hear like a repetitive tapping sound. Like I hear him running up, and I turn, and by the time I'm turning around, he just smashes my face in with his fist, and I fall backwards, and I hit my head. I land on the steps. I was blank for some moments, and when I came to, some friend of his, I assume, helped me up. He's like grabbing my arm and pulling me. I asked why he just did that. I didn't get an answer. The girlfriend up top is yelling at me, asking like where I'm from, whose house do I know, and I repeat, like, I'm lost right now, so I couldn't tell you that. And I'm gushing out of my mouth, so I'm just like not even focused on that. I asked her to give me a charger because my phone's dead, so I can call the police. And she says, the expletive. She goes, why the fuck would I do that? So after that, I get up. I search around the building for a while. I searched on the building for a while, and I knock on the door eventually and somebody helps me out, and I wait for the police.
Let's back up a little bit. Describe for the court that top floor of that apartment complex where you go in the wrong apartment. How many other apartments are on that floor?
4?
And from where you knocked on the door and entered Mr. McCollough's apartment to the stairwell, how far is that?
Repeat that, please.
How far is it from the apartment door when Mr. McCollough was to the stairs where you got knocked?
I'd say like 30 feet.
You said did you lose consciousness?
Yes.
And where were you before you lost consciousness?
At the top of the steps.
Okay, and then where were you when you regained consciousness?
Basically in the middle of the steps, a little higher up, but in the middle of the steps.
You recognize that photograph?
Yes, sir.
What does that photograph depict?
That's a puddle of my blood, maybe down the 4th or 5th step from the top, where basically where my head was once I came to.
Stay with us in that position.
No objection.
Mr. Spencer. Now, Mr. Spencer, you indicated that on that photograph where the larger pile of total of blood was, that's where your head was located?
Yes.
Where would your feet be?
Near the top, near where that, I think in the photo there's like a napkin near the top step. That's where my feet were.
Further up the stairs?
Yeah. Head first and then feet up top.
Describe for the court your injuries.
Upon coming to, first I'll just rushing blood. I lost my left front tooth, my upper left front tooth. My upper right was shattered mostly all the way, and then I have a thin bone here that connects to all of your forward bottom row, and because that was broken and they had all gotten pushed over anyways, those were all just dead.
We're on what?
Dead, they're all broken. Basically, my bone was broken in my chin, so I had to have them all removed.
The bones that were your four bottom
Yeah, they all
attached
connect.
to that bone was broken.
Yeah, so essentially I could just push the teeth over in my mouth.
When they were in your mouth, were they kind of playing on your palate?
Yeah, I can make them 90 degrees.
You stated that you lost consciousness, correct? Did you have any other injuries to your head?
I had a concussion, and that's the pump.
At the scene, did you locate the one tooth that got knocked out?
Yes.
Where was it?
I can't remember too well. I think the police actually saw it first and handed it to me, but it was at the top of the steps.
So you stated that when you regained consciousness, Mr. McCullough's roommate was helping you up, correct?
Yes.
Did you see Mr. McCullough again after?
No.
Did you know Mr. McCullough before this incident?
No.
Did you see Mr. McCullough before this incident?
Oh yeah.
Can you point out the court right there?
Yes, didn't come.
You stated that you asked for a phone charger. Why was that?
My phone was dead.
Were you ever able to get a phone charger from someone?
I was.
Did you remain at the scene and speak with law enforcement officers?
I did.
Do you know the extent of what's going to have to happen in order to fix your teeth?
Essentially.
Can you explain to the court what you said?
So I'll have to. I know around the cost, but essentially I don't know like the medical. But I'll have to have some type of bone graft here. It'll cost around. Is that what you were asking? It'll cost around $26,000 to fix. I have to have all 4 of these teeth replaced. I had a cap put on this right one because essentially there was only like a bit of it left. So yeah, just a lot of stuff out of pocket. So.
Now, you admitted you put called a graph of
Yeah, it's essentially a picture.
those champagne and orange juice with friends. Were you intoxicated?
Yes.
Were you intoxicated at the time that this happened?
When I got hit? Yes.
The only thing was that she said to Mr. McCollough was, you don't have to be there.
Yes, sir.
Did you take any other actions that were aggressive?
Absolutely not.
Any actions that were threatening?
No.
And again, the punch occurred approximately 30 feet from the door.
Yes, sir.
Mr. McCollough's door. Did these events occur during Knox County, Tennessee?
Yes, sir.
That's it.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Spencer.
Good morning.
My name is Chloe Akers, I represent Jaylen McCollough. If I ask you a question you don't understand, feel free to tell me you don't understand the question. I'll rephrase it for you, okay?
Thank you.
So as I understood your testimony, you had been at lunch at Walter Beer Works and had one carafe of mimosas that you split with friends.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have anything else to drink at Walter Beer Works?
No.
And you rode from Walter Beer Works back to your friend Connor Smith's apartment at Grand Avenue?
Yes. Ma'am. Before that, we stopped to get the bottles.
So you left Walter Beer Works, and where'd you go from there?
We went to the liquor store and then to Connors.
What'd you get at the liquor store?
To the Pinnacle pints thing, the blue ones, the plastic ones.
Blue pint, is it vodka?
Yes.
And when you left the liquor store and you went back to your friend Connor's house, whose vehicle were you in?
My friend Dustin Anderson's.
And when Dustin Anderson parked that vehicle, you were in it?
Yes.
And you walked with your friend Dustin Anderson from that vehicle back to your friend Connor's apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
And you testified that you were inside Connor's apartment for only 5 to 10 minutes before you needed to go back to Dustin's car.
Yes, ma'am.
Between the time you went into Connor's apartment and the 5 to 10 minutes before you tried to get back to Dustin's car, Dustin didn't move the car, correct?
Correct.
It was right where you were in it 5 to 10 minutes before.
Correct.
And you were going back to the car to get the bottles?
One bottle.
One bottle. Where was the other bottle?
It was on my person.
So you had one bottle of vodka on your person, correct?
Yes.
When you were going to Dustin's car to get a second bottle.
Yes.
Was the bottle on your person empty when you were walking out to Dustin's vehicle?
No.
Okay. Subsequently, did it become empty?
What do you mean?
Let me rephrase.
Yeah.
So, did you drink any of that first bottle of vodka when you were inside your friend's apartment before you went out to the car?
I had a swig of it, and I took it with me because I didn't want anybody else to touch it while I was gone.
So you took a full bottle of vodka with you to get a second bottle out of Dustin's car?
Yeah, because he had gotten his own as well.
And so after 5 to 10 minutes, you couldn't find the car that you just arrived in.
This is true.
And you've been in that apartment complex before.
No, because Connor had lived in a different area of that complex. It was like essentially a different building. Like he was all the way to way further down the street. The complex is that entire part of then I guess essentially, but I'd never been to the part of the complex that he lived in. Excuse me. I'd never been to the part of the complex he lived in then.
You'd been to the complex before, but he was in a new building of the complex.
Yeah, like if the name of it was like 865 Society 865 or something like that, or whatever it is.
So you get disoriented trying to get back to a car after leaving it for about 10 minutes, right? You've got a bottle of vodka on you, right? You're intoxicated. You have to say yes or no for the record.
Yes.
Okay. You got a bottle of vodka on you, you're intoxicated at the time, correct?
Yes, yes.
And you can't find this car for whatever reason, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you're, I'm assuming, wandering around looking for the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And Connor's apartment is actually in a building near the pool, is that right?
No, that's where he lived originally.
Okay. Which building was he in? Do you even know?
I don't remember like the name, the number of the building he lived in.
So at this point, you're so disoriented that you can't find Dustin's vehicle and you can't find your way down to Connor's apartment, right?
This is true.
And you eventually find yourself at my client's apartment, correct?
This is true.
May I approach you? I'm showing you what's been marked as Exhibit 2. Do you recognize that?
That is me holding a bottle.
That bottle is empty? When did you drink all that vodka?
I definitely didn't drink it. We had just gotten those and we had just touched down. I don't remember if after the hit, maybe it broke somehow or anything along those lines, but I definitely didn't finish that bottle.
Okay, well, it's not broken in that picture.
But there's no lid on it.
Right.
So
What happened to the vodka that was inside of it?
it could have spilled somewhere. I possibly could have thrown it down after I got hit because in the hallway that I was in, I didn't finish that bottle.
Do you recall telling that, may I introduce this? Do you recall telling the officer who arrived on scene that that was your bottle and you had been drinking it?
Yes, ma'am.
But it's your testimony that maybe the vodka just spilled out. You don't remember.
Yes, I said I had a swig of it.
Now, I want to ask you a question about your driver's license.
Okay.
When the police officers arrived, there's first a female officer who showed up on scene, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
She asked you for your driver's license, right?
I don't remember too well.
May I approach on it? Showing what's marked as Exhibit 3. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
What is that?
That is me handing an ID to a hand.
Is that your ID?
Yes.
Can you read the timestamp on the top of that?
153404.
And I'd like to introduce this. There's been a stipulation, Your Honor, as to the authenticity of body cam footage. May I approach? I'm going to play for you some camera footage and ask you some questions about it. Now, Your Honor, how should I?
If you want to just put it right here, I can see
Do you recognize what we're looking at there?
it. Not until it's played.
Okay. What did we just see there?
Me handing a police officer, I assume female based off her voice, my ID and me spitting out blood.
And that timestamp, if we could just go back there at the top.
153354.
I'm going to play the second portion for you. If you could just let the court know what the timestamp is there.
155139.
What did we just hear there?
I said yes.
You heard a male officer ask, do you have an ID on you? Is that correct?
Yes.
So this is a different officer than the first female officer?
Yes.
Okay, so what just happened there?
I could not find my wallet.
You couldn't find your wallet, or you
Or couldn't find my ID.
And you told the officer, I swear to God, I don't know where my ID is.
This is true.
This is 20 minutes after you just handed it to the first officer on scene. Yes?
Correct.
Okay. Now ask me to listen to the voice. The timestamp on this is 16:04, correct?
This is correct.
So that was you saying, bro, I look in my wallet, there's no reason I shouldn't be able to find my ID right now, correct?
This is true.
And this is after 40 minutes earlier when you just handed your ID to the cop, right?
This is true.
And you telling someone you just don't know why it's not there. Okay, so now we're looking at 16:30, correct?
This is true.
And you're talking to 2 EMS,
This is true.
and you just told them, I woke up and my ID wasn't in my wallet anymore.
This is true.
Okay. So you went from handing your driver's license to a police officer at 3:34 to telling EMS that you woke up on the stairs and your license was missing from your wallet. Correct?
This is true.
What happened there?
Okay, so I said this because, so first off, I'm discombobulated. I just smacked my head against concrete. It's got my teeth punched out. It's not like I got up off the ground and reached in my wallet and looked for my ID. I only realized I didn't have my ID after correctly I handed the female officer my ID originally, forgot about that, and then the second officer asked for it, and that was the first time I looked for my wallet after getting knocked out. So I placed, I guess, the original event of me giving her my ID. I woke up and because I never looked again after that. So once she had it, I never knew about it in the first place. So once I looked for it again, it was already over with.
So you just straight up got your events very, very confused.
No.
Well, you handed your ID to an officer, right?
Correct.
And then an hour later, you told someone else, not that you couldn't find your ID, but that you actually woke up on the stairs and it was missing from your wallet. That's a big difference, isn't it?
Correct.
And you were very discombobulated, right?
Yes.
Because you were intoxicated.
Yes.
You testified on direct that you went to Mr. McCollough's front door thinking that it was your friend's apartment.
This is true.
So if it's your friend's apartment, why knock?
Just knocked on the door first. So just knocked.
They were expecting you back, right?
This is true.
So your testimony is, even though you thought it was your friend's apartment, you knocked.
Yeah, because I wasn't completely sure if it was or not yet, so I knocked. And then I twisted the door handle and it was unlocked, like my friend's apartment.
Now, you testified on direct examination that you put your you immediately could tell it wasn't your friend's place and you said sorry. Right? Say yes or no.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And you said you didn't see anybody in there. Correct?
Yes.
You just testified to.
Yes.
Okay. If you didn't see anybody in the apartment, when officers asked you to identify my client's girlfriend from inside the apartment, why did you tell them that she was inside the apartment?
I said because she came out afterwards. He hit me, and when I came to, like I said, his friend helped me up. That's my first time seeing his friend and her.
So let me
She
back you
didn't just,
up.
oh God.
You testified that you walked 30 feet from the door, correct? Say yes or no.
Oh, yes, yes,
That you were punched in the face and fell backwards down a concrete flight of stairs, right?
yes,
And then you came to on the stairs.
yes,
You can't see the door to that apartment from the stairs, correct?
yes.
Okay. So how do you know if they came from the apartment if you woke up on the stairs and you can't see the door?
Well, she brought me paper towels, and I don't think she just randomly got those out of the air walking down the street,
There's 4 apartments up there on the landing, aren't there?
and no one else was outside.
How do you know she didn't come from one of the other apartments?
Because when the police were originally coming back to the apartment to beat on the door, there virtually nobody, like, still, there was nobody out. Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. My question is, you're saying you never went inside the apartment, but you identified my client's girlfriend on the scene as a woman from inside the apartment, so I'm confused. You never went inside, how could you identify her as someone who was inside?
It was just a sequence of events, because after he hit me, or let me stop. After he hit me, I didn't see him again, but now 2 people who would otherwise be completely unconnected to the entire event are asking me questions about where I'm from, and they're bringing me paper towels, and I'm asking them for help, and I guess I just got accused that they should have been connected to him.
You forgot you gave your driver's license to a police officer, but you were picking up on subtle cues about who came from where,
Yes, it was the only door that was open,
but there were 4 doors up there.
and it was the only door that was open.
What do you mean, how do you know it was open?
Because I went 30, his position, he was the furthest most door on that upper level. So I actually did move from that door 30 feet all the way down to the other end of the upper level, and not a other single door was open.
That doesn't mean somebody else couldn't come out after you allegedly fell down the stairs, right?
No.
When you were talking to the police that day, you said that when you came to on the stairs, it was the guy's friend who was helping you, right?
Yes.
How on earth would you know that the guy helping you was a friend of the guy who hit you if you never went inside the apartment and you've never seen him before?
Repeat that again, please.
You told the police that the guy who was helping you on the stairs when you came to was the defendant's friend, right?
Correct.
Also said here today you didn't go inside the apartment, correct?
Correct.
So how on earth would you know the guy helping you was a friend of the guy who hit you if you hadn't gone inside the apartment to see them together?
Because the girl that I assumed, because I guess I didn't see her leave from any door, the girl I assumed was with the friend while Jaylen was gone, and they both came with paper towels. So I assumed they came from the same place.
Why would you assume that the guy who was helping you was Jaylen's friend if you had never gone into the apartment and seen them together, and you had never seen them before in your life?
Another muscular-looking black guy, I guess.
So that's what made you think he was a friend of the guy who hit you?
Yeah, they looked like both like athletes. Just kind of made sense. Everything made a lot of sense.
So you were able to do a lot of deductive reasoning.
It wasn't deductive reasoning. It was after he hit me, he was gone, and I asked actually the friend why he just did that, and he said he doesn't know.
You asked him that because you saw him with my client inside the apartment together, right?
No.
Your testimony is, put one foot in and you said sorry, right? And this man you've never seen before took it upon himself to run 30 feet down a hallway and hit you. That's right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you also testified that you fell down a flight of stairs. Let me back up. So did you put half of your foot on the threshold, or one, or like went a half a foot inside the door? Which one?
Half of my foot on the threshold.
Okay. Did you crack the door, or did you open it all the way?
What do you, when I twisted the door, I just kind of, just enough for a vantage point, if that's the right word, I could just like wide open that I could see forward, maybe 2 feet.
Now, when you were on the scene that day, you eventually were able to call one of your friends, right?
Off a police officer's phone. Yes.
What you told that friend was, I knocked on some door, some dude comes out, gets rude as fuck with me, I'm turning around and he punches me, correct?
Yes.
So when you were talking to your friend, you never mentioned that you went inside the apartment. You said you knocked on the door and somebody came out to assault you.
Correct.
That's not what happened. Even by your own testimony here today, you said you opened the door and put your foot on the threshold.
May I?
I'm asking you.
Oh, repeat the question then, please.
Those are two different versions of events. You told your friend that you just knocked on a door, someone came out and hit you. What you're telling us today is that you opened the door, put your foot on the threshold, and then there was an interaction, correct?
No, because the day of, I told the police that I stepped on the threshold and I was just talking to my friend in shorthand. So I just got done talking to the police for an hour and he asked me what happened and I just gave him the 6-second rundown.
So you were just talking in shorthand when you forgot to mention that you were inside the apartment?
I mean, I never once was saying I went inside. I said I've always said that I stepped in, like I put my foot on, like, you know, I wasn't. Repeat the question again, then, please. I'm just having.
So I think we'll move on.
Okay.
Let me ask you this. Your testimony was you're standing at the top of a flight of concrete stairs, and you get punched once, and you, after the testimony was you fell backwards.
Yeah, like I twisted down and I landed on my side back.
And despite falling down a flight of stairs, you didn't have any other injury except the injury to your face.
Not sure.
Okay, what, you had a knot on your head?
Yeah, and I also hurt my wrist, but it didn't seem upright.
That's okay. You were able to just jog right up those stairs after the police officers came, right?
Wait. At what time did the police come in? Because I only went up and down those about twice.
Okay, I'll show you a video that'll help refresh.
Yeah, I will.
For the record, we're looking at timestamp 1537, correct?
This is true.
And that's you in those shoes.
Yes, ma'am.
What are you doing here?
I am going up the steps.
You're kind of jogging up the steps, right?
No.
Let's watch that again. Fair enough. And that's when you picked up the vodka bottle and you said, I'm not going to lie, I've been drinking, this is mine.
Yes.
Now, at the scene, on one occasion when you were describing what happened to the officers, you actually said you remember going down the steps and bleeding out of my mouth, kind of a walking motion. Do you recall telling the officers that?
No.
May I approach on it? We're starting at timestamp 1546. If you could just listen to what you tell the officers here. What did you tell the officers?
I remember going down the steps and bleeding down my mouth, or out of my mouth.
And the motion that you're doing is like walking down steps, correct, in the video?
This is true.
Okay. So on the scene, you told the officers you walked down the steps and you remember blood coming out of your mouth, but here today, your testimony is that you were punched and fell down the steps.
I didn't fall all the way to the bottom. I got up in the middle of them and walked down them.
I thought you just testified on direct examination that you were standing at the top of the stairs, you were punched and you fell backward.
Yes, and I landed on, I'm not contradicting what you're saying. I landed on these steps. God, I don't even do movements. I got up in the middle of them and got myself down, like I walked down.
I thought you said
I still fell backwards, but I mean, you're supposed to levitate up.
I thought you said that when you woke up, the person who you identified as my client's friend was there to help.
He didn't help me down these steps. He walked away from me. I was still in the middle of the steps, and I walked down these steps.
So when you were telling the officers that you got punched and you remember walking down the steps with blood coming out of your mouth, that was after you're telling this court that you were punched and fell down a flight of stairs.
It's falling down a flight of I didn't fall all the way down these steps. My head was on, like, if this is the top, then my head was like the 4th or 5th step from the top. He comes, once I come to, his friend is there with a boatload of napkins and an arm, and I get up on these steps and I walk down.
So what were you describing to officers when you were saying that there was blood coming out of your mouth and you remember walking down the stairs?
That I was walking down these steps after getting up, and there was blood coming out of my mouth. This is even after the guy brought me paper towels, but still leaking.
So after you got punched, you were able to walk.
Yes.
Why didn't you walk back to your friend's house?
I couldn't remember where it was.
Why didn't you just walk 1 block to the hospital?
I was bleeding out of my mouth and had smacked my head into concrete, so I didn't think that would be a good idea.
Walk to the hospital?
No, as in, like, I didn't really know what to do. I immediately just tried to call the police and wait on them, and I also knew it was a police situation.
You didn't actually call the police though.
I did. I attempted to, but I guess my phone service or something had messed up. I tried to call 5 times at, I think 3:15. It never went through, so then I went to a door and I knocked and pleaded for help.
I thought your phone was dead.
I got a charger as well. Before that, after I get down the steps, I'm walking around and my phone's dead. They wouldn't help me call the police, so I'm waiting for somebody I can see to help me. I see this girl, and I'm blubbering and bloody. I'm crying to her and asking her for help, and she said she'll be right back, and she needs me a charger. And once she does, I sit against the ground, 1 level down from the top level, and I sit in that middle area and wait with my phone charged. And once it does finally get on, I try to call the police, but it wasn't going through. So I go to the first door I see on my right, and I knock and ask for help.
Why didn't you call your friend to come help you?
Because I just said my service was messed up, so that wouldn't have worked.
And you didn't think it was a good idea to walk 1 block to the hospital and
I
call the
don't
police from there?
I think I could have walked from, like, I don't think I would have known how to get there. Like, it just definitely wasn't the first idea on my mind.
What was the first idea in your mind to go to the hospital?
To walk all the way to the hospital instead of just calling the police.
So I'm clear. To your testimony, you never went inside Jaylen McCollough's apartment.
The middle of my foot went inside.
I don't have anything else.
Can you redirect?
You did go to the hospital, you were diagnosed with concussion, correct?
This is true.
And being punched and falling and landing halfway down the stairs is not inconsistent with then getting up at some point and walking the rest of the way down the stairs.
My legs weren't injured, so no.
All right, you can step down.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We're going to state this. You said you had some proof to offer Ms. Akers.
Yes, we would call Warren Burrell.
Come here, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you please introduce yourself to the court?
My name is Warren Burrell.
Spell that, please.
Warren, W-A-R-R-E-N, Burrell, B-U-R-R-E-L-L.
Mr. Burrell, do you know the defendant, Jaylen McCollough?
Yes.
How do you know Jaylen?
He's my roommate, my teammate, my friend.
Do you go to school together?
Yes.
Where do you go to school?
The University of Tennessee.
And you live together in an apartment here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm going to just direct your attention right back to Sunday, October 9th. Do you remember that day?
Yes.
Can you tell the judge a little bit about what you had done previous to that afternoon and where you were when this incident all began?
So, currently I'm injured, so I don't travel with the team. So, that was the weekend they played LSU. I went to Nashville to visit some friends, and I had just gotten back from Nashville, maybe about an hour before the whole event started.
Let me, may I approach her? I'm showing you, are we at 4? Is it 4? Call it 4. I'm showing you what's marked as Exhibit 4. Do you recognize this?
Yes.
What is this?
It's the layout of my apartment.
Okay. Your Honor, I'm moving this in, but I'd ask that you be able to use this to refer. You can hold this up there. Here's a pen in case I ask you to mark anything. Okay, if you could hold that up for the judge. And if you could just show the judge on that diagram, where's your front door?
Front door would be here.
Okay. And where's your bedroom?
My bedroom is back here.
Okay. And where's Jaylen's bedroom?
His bedroom is here.
Okay. And then where's the living area?
Right here.
Now, in that diagram, the couch is facing your bedroom. Is it the same way in your own apartment?
No, the couch faces the door.
Okay. So on the afternoon of October 10th, as I understand it, you didn't go to Backers with the team, right?
Right, no.
You had just come back to your apartment Sunday about an hour before this?
Yes.
Had you been drinking at all?
No.
Can you tell the judge what you remember about that afternoon?
So I just gotten back. I went downstairs to my car, got some more stuff. Went back into my room, put on my bed, watched TV. I was watching TV for a little while, but then I heard it was some commotion going on outside, and don't need to say all this up. But,
When you're talking, it might help the judge.
yeah, so
get right.
I was.
Let me rephrase. You heard some commotion outside your
Yes.
bedroom or outside your apartment?
No, outside my bedroom, like going on in the living room.
Okay.
So I didn't really pay much attention to it because, it's like we've had people over before, but then it started to get louder, and then I heard a man's voice. So I came out of my room, and I leaned against the wall right here. I was standing right here to see what was going on.
What did you see?
I saw this man standing here in front of our TV right here, and Jaylen was sitting down on the couch, and
The man you saw standing in front of your TV, had you ever seen him before in your life?
never.
Do you see him in court today?
Yeah, I did.
Is it Zion Spencer?
Yes.
You didn't know his name then, though?
No.
If you could put an X on that image where you first saw Zion Spencer standing in your apartment. So that's a good, 4 or 5 feet from the front door?
Yes.
Okay. What happened when you saw Zion Spencer standing inside your apartment?
He was standing there, and he seemed like he was sitting there trying to explain himself, like had his hands in there, was just talking, and all Jaylen was telling him was, "I don't care about any of that. Get out." And he just kept sitting there, just over and over, just kept trying to explain himself, hands in the air like this, and but all Jaylen kept saying was, "I don't care. Get out."
Was he making much sense? Did he seem coherent?
No. Like I didn't know what was going on with him. I didn't want to make any assumptions. I mean, it was a Sunday. I didn't know like if there was anything mentally or anything going on or whatever it was, but he did not make sense.
And eventually, when he was standing up, and Jaylen was telling him to get out, and you were standing at the corner of your door, where was Jaylen at that time?
When he was originally in the apartment, Jaylen was sitting down on the couch, facing him,
Saying, get out.
saying, "I don't care about any of that. Get out."
What happened next?
he did not leave, and he stood there and kept talking with his hands in the air, and eventually Jaylen got up and backed him up with his body to the door frame.
So let me stop you right there. To your knowledge, before this man entered your apartment, your front door was closed?
Yes.
And when you say Jaylen got up and backed him up with his body, did you ever see Mr. Spencer turn his back and leave the apartment?
No.
So was Mr. Spencer backing away from Jaylen while facing you and Jaylen?
Yes.
Okay. And did Mr. Spencer's demeanor change at all from the time you initially saw him in the living room area as he was backing up towards the threshold?
Yes.
Can you describe that to the court, please?
So at first, as I was saying, he seemed like he was just like trying to over-explain himself, trying to make up an explanation of why he was in our house. But then, as it escalated, as he went closer to the door, he got more aggressive. Just the tone switched. He started to get more argumentative, and it was a big difference.
What happened when you eventually got to the front door?
So as he got to the front door, the tone switched. It was being argumentative. Back and forth kept going. I obviously walked up to the door. It kept going, kept escalating, and it just happened.
Let me ask you this. When you said it kept escalating, at any point did you see Mr. McCollough get angry or aggressive?
No.
You've known Mr. McCollough, what, since you were in high school?
Yes.
Okay. Did he seem angry or did he seem annoyed that he wanted a strange man out of his house?
He was annoyed. He was not angry at him.
Eventually, did Mr. McCollough, Mr. Spencer, and yourself make your way out of the front door?
No further than right in front of the door.
So if you could put an X in the area that you were standing when you saw Mr. McCollough hit Mr. Spencer.
I was standing directly where this corner is.
And that's sort of like a doorway area to your apartment.
Yes.
Do you recall seeing Mr. McCollough hit Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
How many times did he hit him?
Once.
And did he hit him when Mr. Spencer was standing anywhere near the stairs 30 feet from your door?
No.
After Mr. Spencer hit after Mr. McCollough hit Mr. Spencer one time, what happened?
That was when I got him. We brought him back into the room, and then that was it.
Did you have to pull Jaylen McCollough away, like stop him from fighting or anything?
No, I literally can't. Like, I had surgery.
And you didn't have to?
No, I didn't have to.
So the two of you walked back into the apartment?
Yes.
And when you walked back into the apartment after Mr. Spencer had been hit, where was Mr. Spencer standing the last time you saw him before going in the apartment?
Before we got back, it was probably right here outside of our door.
After Jaylen hit Mr. Spencer, do you know if Mr. Spencer lost consciousness?
No, we just went back into the apartment.
And eventually you went back out to the hallway, correct?
Correct.
What happened when you walked back out of your apartment?
When I walked back out, he was leaning against the rail. Like, he had one arm on the railing, and his head was facing down the railing. His legs was facing like up towards the top of the railing. He was just laying there, just groaning, just making weird noises. I kept asking him, like, are you okay? Do you need help? Because I didn't want to just touch him, because some strange man just walked to our house. So like, I didn't want to just grab him. So I asked him, do I have permission to help you up or do anything? And I had to ask him that like 8 times before he even answered the question. And just sat there just making weird noises, just groaning. And he eventually said yes. And I sat him up, and that was it. I went back inside, got him some water and some paper towels, for his mouth, and that was it.
Did you think to call 911 or an ambulance?
No.
Why not?
I don't even know this guy. Like, there's some random guy that just walked into our apartment. Like, I'm really not looking for him right now. I'm looking at my friend.
And I want to be clear that your testimony was you had to ask him about 8 times if you could help him up when he was in the stairs, right?
Yes.
But as I understood your testimony, when you first encountered him inside your living room, he wasn't making coherent sense.
No.
And it's your testimony under oath that he wasn't standing anywhere near those stairs.
No.
when you said.
No.
Nothing further.
Mr. Garvin?
Did Mr. Spencer lay hands on Mr. McCollough?
No.
Did he swing at him?
No.
Did he lay hands on you?
No.
Did he swing at you?
No.
Did he lay hands on his girlfriend as a partner?
No.
Did he swing at her?
No.
Did he threaten to do anything?
I can't say what he said. He was very incoherent.
Um, so by the time the punch happened, there's no dispute that it was outside the apartment.
Yeah, it was outside.
But you didn't call 911.
No.
You didn't even stay at the scene.
No.
When you went out to help him, and he was in the position where he was halfway down the stairs, his kind of head bleeding, his feet up the stairs.
Correct.
That's the condition that he was in when you saw him.
Yes.
And you got paper towels. Did you help try to clean up the blood or anything?
No, I just gave it to him.
Okay. And the blood was on that stairwell right there, correct?
Correct.
There wasn't any blood by your friend.
Could have been nothing I know of.
You didn't see it.
Yeah.
And I think you said that you weren't looking out for him, Mr. Spencer. You were just looking out to help your friend.
Correct.
A brief regret there. When you eventually left the apartment, did you have any idea the police were on their way?
No.
Why did you leave?
Because everybody else left, and I'm not going to be sitting alone with some random guy just over here yelling about stuff. Like,
Have you given your contact information to the police department to give them a full statement?
when during the time, no, I just received a phone call
When did you first receive a phone call from the police?
yesterday.
And I believe the district attorney asked you on cross, he said you weren't looking out for the man on the stairs, you were looking out for your friend. Are you lying about what happened to save your friend?
No.
Nothing further.
Okay, you can step down, sir. Any other proof, Ms. Akers?
Yeah, we're gonna call Jaylen McCollough.
Should we get sworn in?
I believe so.
Please raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Swear to tell the truth.
Mr. McCullough, you know, you do not have to testify if you don't want to. No one can make you testify at this point. Anything you say here today could potentially be used against you in another court case. You understand that?
So,
Still want to testify?
so,
Good morning, Mr. McCollough.
good morning.
Can you introduce yourself to the court, please?
I'm Jaylen McCollough.
You can, when I say the court, I
I'm
mean.
sorry. I'm Jaylen McCollough.
Mr. McCollough, how old are you?
I'm 22 years old.
Are you a student?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Where are you a student?
University of Tennessee.
Do you live here in Knoxville?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And you live in the apartment that we've been talking about, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I want to direct your attention to that weekend. Talk to me a little bit about what you did Saturday night and into Sunday morning.
We played LSU that Saturday, so we were traveling back from Baton Rouge. Probably got back at my house around 11:45-ish. No earlier than then. I went to bed, woke up Sunday morning. We had medical check-in, for people who play. We have to go check in to the facility, so I did that. After that, I went grocery shopping, came back, cleaned my refrigerator, and then by then, the incident occurred.
So let me ask you this. Have you had any alcohol, anything to drink after you got back from the LSU game?
No, ma'am.
Did you have anything to drink on Sunday before this incident?
No, ma'am.
What kind of condition was your body in on this Sunday afternoon?
It was a little tight, a little beat up. We just played a SEC game on the road, so I was a little tired.
So you put your groceries away, and you can see up there there's an exhibit. You can hold that up and just maybe refer to that a little bit when you're describing where you were to the judge. You said you were sitting on your couch.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What were you doing when you were sitting on your couch?
I was trying to find the NFL game to watch.
Was the door to your apartment closed?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it locked?
No, ma'am, it wasn't.
Do you know Zion Spencer?
No, ma'am, I don't.
You've never seen him before in your life?
No, ma'am.
What happened as you were sitting there trying to watch an NFL game?
I hear my front door open. I hear this random guy walk in. He's kind of like mumbling a little bit, and the first thing he says to me was, my phone, I needed a charger, my phone.
So let me back you up a little bit. Did you ever hear a knock on your front door?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Okay. And if you could show the judge on that diagram, how far did this man make it into your apartment?
Made it into about right here. I have an air vent that sits inside of my apartment, about like 3 feet from the door. He was about right at the air vent. So.
And what did he seem coherent? Was he making sense when he was inside your apartment?
No, ma'am, not really. The only thing he kept saying was, my phone, I need, my phone, I need to charge you, right? That's the only thing he kept saying.
Where were you when he was saying that?
I was on my couch.
What did you do after he came in and started saying he needed a phone or a phone charger?
I told him I couldn't help him and that you need to leave.
Did he leave?
No, ma'am, he didn't.
Okay. What happened next?
He kept saying like, my phone, I need a charger. And then it went from his phone to saying something about a friend. And the whole time I'm like, I can't help you, sir. Like, I can't help you. Like, you need to leave. And that's the only thing I kept telling him. Like, I don't care. Like, I just want you out my house. Like, I need you to leave.
Eventually, did you get up off the couch?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
What happened next?
As I got up off the couch, I basically sized him up, basically like using my body to like back him outside of my house because he wasn't moving. So I stood up and I started walking towards him.
Did you ever, let me ask you this, did you ever threaten him?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever put your hands on him at all?
No, ma'am.
What were you trying to do?
I was trying to get him out of my house.
Okay. And so as you were walking toward him, did he at any point turn his back and just leave?
No, ma'am.
What happened next?
As I'm like walking towards him, he's walking backwards. So we make it towards the door, and at this point, I see my girlfriend walk out of the room.
Which room, if you could show the judge?
This is my bedroom right here.
So your girlfriend's in that very front bedroom closest to the door?
Yes, ma'am.
And there's a strange man you've never seen not leaving from that area?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And are you continuing to tell him to leave?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
And what happens next?
As I'm getting him to the door, my girlfriend walks out. I see Mr. Burrell out as well. So I shut my door to basically like shield like the intruder from my girlfriend and all of that. And we're outside now, and it's still a verbal back and forth. I'm telling him to leave. He's still not cooperating. He's still arguing, trying to go back and forth.
Let me ask you, if you can show the judge on that diagram, were you standing in that doorway vestibule area of your apartment?
Yes, ma'am, I was. I was actually this is my front door. I would say I was about a step in front of my front door. If I would have took any like step further back, my back would be on my front door.
And from the time you first saw him in your living room when he was sort of asking for a phone charger or his friend, and the time you had managed to get him back up towards the door, did his demeanor change at all?
Yes, ma'am. It started to change. The closer we got to the door, he was kind of getting like aggressive, argumentative more. He did say like, you don't have to be a dick about it. As we were still like walking towards the door, and he just wasn't cooperating.
Did that make you mad or hurt your feelings?
No, it didn't. I just wanted him out of my house. Like,
And so when you were standing in your vestibule doorway, and the front door was closed, was Mr. Burrell out there?
At that time, no, he wasn't.
Okay. But he saw the hit?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. Eventually he was out there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What made you hit Zion Spencer in the face? What happened?
He started getting aggressive, and then he told me, "You don't have to be a dick about it. You think you're so cool. You think you're so cool. You think you're so tough." And then he threatened to re-enter the apartment. So at that point, I hit him in the mouth once, and then I went back inside my house.
So you did not put your hands on this strange man in your home until he threatened to re-enter your home?
Yes, ma'am.
When he was standing about 2 feet from your front door?
Yes, ma'am.
After you hit him one time, what happened?
I went back into my house. I realized that I had a big gash on my hand. So then I called my athletic trainer, Geronimo Broche. I called him up and told him that I have a gash and that I'm going to need stitches.
Why did you call the police?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Why not?
Because at that time I felt like I handled, I handled the intruder. I handled the situation, so I didn't feel the need to call the police at that point.
You didn't feel the need to call the police to help someone who unlawfully entered your house?
No, ma'am.
And when you left, you did leave eventually?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And did you go to get your hand looked at by your trainer?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
When you left, did you have any reason to suspect the police were coming?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Were you leaving in an attempt to flee law enforcement?
No, ma'am, I wasn't.
Okay. When you went to the facility, did you have your hand looked at?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
You had to get stitches?
Yes, ma'am.
Was bleeding pretty badly?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you came back to the apartment, you came right back to your apartment after you got stitches, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And were there police there?
Yes, ma'am, there was.
Did they ask, what happened when those police saw you?
I was walking up from parking my car, and I heard a female officer ask my girlfriend, "Is this your boyfriend?" She said yes, and then immediately, as I was walking up, they put me behind a car that was parked. She said, "Just stay right here," and then, about like a minute or so after that, she put me in handcuffs.
So a minute after you get back to your apartment, they put handcuffs on you and search you?
Yes, ma'am.
And put you under arrest?
Yes, ma'am.
And that was before they asked you would tell them what happened, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And it was after they put you under arrest that you decided you wanted to talk to a lawyer?
Yes, ma'am.
And you gave them a full statement to law enforcement?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
Nothing else?
So you hit him one time, and then you went back in the apartment.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Burrell already in the apartment when that happened.
No, sir, he wasn't.
When did he come out?
He came out, I'll say, like a couple seconds before the punch occurred.
So you physically backed him out of the apartment?
Yes, sir.
No issue with that?
It was a bit of resistance from Mr. Spencer, yes, sir, but as far as the issue,
What, he didn't lay his hand on you?
no, sir, he didn't touch me.
He didn't swing at you?
No, sir.
He didn't kick at you? He didn't swing at Mr. Burrell?
No, sir.
He didn't lay hands on Mr. Burrell?
No, sir.
You were able to back him out of your apartment?
Yes, sir.
On the other side of the threshold?
Yes, sir.
Outside?
Yes, sir.
You said you shut the door?
Yes, sir. I pulled the door behind me, yes, sir.
Okay. So it's just you and Mr. Spencer at that point?
Yes, sir.
Outside?
Yes, sir.
But you don't know how or when Mr. Burrell came out to warn you?
No, sir. I'm pretty sure he was curious about what was going on, so he stepped outside.
That door shut, and it was just the two of you out there.
Yes, sir. At one point.
Did you reopen the door?
No, sir.
So Mr. Burrell would have had to open the door to come out your way.
Essentially, yes, sir.
Did you hear him testify about that?
Who?
Mr. Burrell.
No, sir. I did.
Now, you went back inside, and you did not call 911 and say that there was an intruder.
No, sir. I didn't.
Mr. Burrell did call 911. correct?
No, sir, he didn't.
Your girlfriend did not call 911?
No, sir, she didn't. No, sir.
And then you did not stay at the scene
No, sir.
when you got stitched up?
Yes, sir.
And came back.
Yes, sir.
How tall are you, sir?
6 foot,
And how much do you weigh?
198.
Were you physically intimidated by Mr. Spencer?
No, sir.
Have you encountered intoxicated people in the past? You ever come across a drunk person?
Not often, no, sir.
On good.
Yeah, not really.
You never punched any of those people?
Those people never walked into my house.
But there's no dispute that the punch occurred outside your apartment
It happened in my doorway, my vestibule area, yes, sir.
with the door shut.
Yes, sir.
You redirect.
No, Your Honor.
Well, sir, you step down because she has to return to it. Any other proof, Ms. Akers?
With those exhibits to the no, Your Honor.
Any rebuttal?
Where?
Okay. Argument?
Take away for third round.
Your Honor, we're asking you to dismiss this case for the following reason. The state has presented one witness, Jaylen Spencer, who testified about his recollection of what occurred. By his own admission, the man was intoxicated. So intoxicated, in fact, that he handed his driver's license to an officer 20 minutes later and forgot about it. But what concerns me the most is that 20 minutes after that, he made it a little further. He said, when I woke up on the stairs, my license was missing from my wallet. It just wasn't true. This man got out of a car and 5 to 10 minutes later couldn't find it again. This man was so intoxicated, and this was before he was punched. He was intoxicated to such a degree before he ever got punched that he couldn't find a car he just got out of 10 minutes before at 2:30 in the afternoon. So intoxicated that he got completely discombobulated in this apartment complex. Couldn't make it back to a friend's house that he had just come from. That indicates to me a high degree of intoxication. That he then goes to Mr. McCollough's door. He no more knocks on that door. He wouldn't knock if he really thought he was at his friend's house. He didn't knock. He walked in. And the only evidence the state's presented that anything other than what Mr. Burrell and Mr. McCollough said happened is Mr. Spencer. A man who was so drunk and out of his mind he couldn't find a car he just got out of 10 minutes before, who had an empty vodka bottle on his person when officers arrived, and he just doesn't know where that alcohol went. He is not reliable because he was out of his mind intoxicated. All of the evidence suggests that. So you're left with Mr. Burrell and Mr. McCollough, two young men who have no reason to lie, who were stone sober. Mr. McCollough wanted nothing more than to sit on his couch and watch an NFL game. When he's in his own home and a drunk stranger puts his hand on the door, turns the knob and walks in. The minute Mr. Spencer did that, he forcibly and unlawfully entered a residence. I submitted a legal memo on this for a reason. This is a complicated and relatively rarely litigated issue, but it's extraordinarily clear under the case law. When you unlawfully and forcibly enter someone's residence, the person who lives there is entitled to a presumption under the law that they may use force to defend themselves. It doesn't matter if Mr. Spencer had a gun, threatened Mr. McCollough, tried to fight him. The law says when someone forcibly and unlawfully enters your own home, you are presumed to be in danger and you are allowed to use force. The only evidence to suggest that Mr. Spencer didn't unlawfully and forcibly enter the apartment is Mr. Spencer, who was so drunk he didn't know where he was. Mr. McCollough, whose body is worn out. This man has no interest in hurting himself. Testifies very credibly. He came inside my apartment and he wouldn't leave. He wasn't making much sense. Of course he wasn't making sense. He was hammered. He asked him to leave. He wouldn't leave. He backed him toward his front door, Your Honor. And when they were outside in the vestibule area, Mr. Spencer threatened to come back in the apartment. And this is where the case law is very, very clear. Okay. It doesn't matter that the door was closed. It's the curtilage of one's own home. And the case law is abundantly clear. Self-defense employed in the curtilage of one's residence is valid. State versus Bidenfield, State versus Edwards. In both of those cases, an intruder had retreated from a home and threatened to come back inside while on the curtilage of the property. In Bidenfield, in fact, the intruder was 20 feet from the front door. And the courts have said, in those circumstances where someone threatens to come back in a residence while they're still on the curtilage of your property, the presumption applies. Mr. McCollough was legally entitled to use force against Mr. Spencer the minute Mr. Spencer unlawfully opened that door and entered. He tried to get this young man to leave his home. Mr. McCollough has no more interest in getting into a fight and injuring his hand while a starter on the UT football team than he has to fly at the moon. He just wants this guy to leave. There is no reason that he would have run 30 feet after somebody he doesn't know and punched him. Didn't happen that way. And the only evidence to suggest that it does is Mr. Spencer, who is not reliable. The state has said there was blood on the stairs. Of course there was blood on the stairs. If you get hit, Your Honor, the first thing you do, whether it's a hit, whether you get punched, whether you get burned, you cover up where you've gotten hit. And Mr. Spencer staggered over the stairs and fell down the stairs and woke up with blood. If he had fallen backward, as he said, he no more would have been able to jog up those stairs than anything else. And if he was hit 30 feet from the door, and Jaylen McCollough slices his hand to such a degree that he has to get stitches, there's no blood between the stairwell and Mr. McCullough's door. Mr. McCollough hit that man when he threatened to re-enter his home after he came inside, uninvited, unlawfully, forcibly, and wouldn't leave. And the state has the burden to prove by a preponderance of the evidence that Mr. McCollough did not act in self-defense. Mr. McCollough is entitled to the presumption. The state hasn't overcome it with the evidence of a young man who was so intoxicated, he lost his way to a car 5 to 10 minutes after getting out there. Found his way to the wrong apartment, went inside, had an empty vodka bottle on his person, admitted to drinking. He was drunk. Your Honor, if the state wants to take this to the grand jury and try to seek an indictment, fine. But at this level, Your Honor, given the presumption, given the case law, this case should be dismissed. I would also point out that the state entirely failed to establish jurisdiction on this question. We would ask you to dismiss this preliminary.
Ms. McCover did ask whether it was in Knox County.
Yes, sir.
Judge, I think that the punch that occurred inside the home may be a different house. What we're talking about here is the curtilage outside the apartment and how far the castle doctrine extends outside of one's home. In the case that the defense relies on, State v. Bottenfield, it's 692 Southwest 7437. It's the Tennessee Court of Criminal Appeals decision of 1985. It states the defendant shot a man in the curtilage of her home when he was within 20 feet of the entrance. Immediately prior to the shooting, the victim had been inside the house and had assaulted the defendant and her disabled stepfather and had broken her mother's leg. And the victim was threatening to again assault the defendant in her home. So I think that's distinguishable. Mr. McCollough was able to back Mr. Spencer out of the home. There's no question that Mr. Spencer had crossed that threshold. We're not arguing that he had. But then once he's outside of the home, Mr. McCollough had the option to shut the door and end the situation. At some point from outside that door to the stairwell, he punched him one time in the face, causing serious bodily injury. So I think it's a mixed question of law and fact. We ask that you find the case.
All right. Yes, there's two undisputed facts in this case. One is that the victim was intoxicated, and two was that Mr. McCollough hit him. So I've got two different stories here. I've got the victim saying that he went into the wrong house, or wrong apartment, and just barely went in. And if he didn't, first didn't see anyone, he's leaving, and he's confronted, and he makes a comment to Mr. McCollough, walks away, and Mr. McCollough runs after him and punches him, knocks him. I don't think it's accurate to say down the steps, but knocked him, and he fell on the steps where the photograph and the description of where the victim said he was found and the blood was found. It's, I think, maybe 4 steps from the top. And of course, Mr. McCullough's story is, and his witness's story, as much as they were fueled at the same time. He came not just into the doorway, but came into the apartment. He asked him to leave. He wouldn't leave. He was not making sense. He's becomes more confrontational. He does back him out of the apartment, and then eventually he punches. He tries to get back in the apartment. He punches him, and then Mr. McCullough goes back into his apartment. Defendants are relied upon is a theory of self-defense for his reason for his actions. I guess the concern I have is, I don't know, why Mr. McCullough just didn't, when he got him out of the apartment, just shut the door. He keeps on trying to come in, then, call the police. That's not what happened. He said he wasn't intimidated or threatened by the victim. And so he punched him. Some of the victim's statements are not consistent about giving the ID and everything, but you've got to take into account it is uncontroverted that he suffered a concussion, and uncontroverted that he was intoxicated. And so those two things taken together could lead a person to not know where his driver's license was after he gave it to the police officer. But Ms. Akers, I think what you're asking is, to dismiss it on the basis of self-defense, and Mr. McCollough may very well have a good self-defense case. But that's something, the jury's going to have to decide. And so this is, I know the people involved, Mr. McCullough's in a position where there's more publicity maybe than there normally be, but the fact remains it's an assault case, and we hear assault cases all the time, and often there are conflicting stories about what happened in an assault case, as in this case, and as those cases, as in this case, that's going to be a question for the jury to decide who they find to be more credible for the jury to decide whether or not, if they're instructed on self-defense, whether self-defense was appropriate on this case. So this case will be bound over to the grand jury on the same bond. Thank you.